This is Kayla Noyes, and I am standing here on Dunn Field in Macon, Missouri. Sports, just like life, teaches us that there will be triumphs and losses, but as this summer the entire community felt the pain of a loss as we lost our voice. This voice was one that represented Macon proudly, Peg Dunn.
I'm here with Athletic Director Bruce Weimer. Mr. Weimer, for those who don't know Peg Dunn, could you explain a little bit about her and what she have done?
Sure, thanks, Justin. Peg Dunn was probably one of those mainstays of the community. She was involved in a lot of activities here at the school, whether it was MHS athletics or as she was a para here in the middle school. She's also very active in the First Christian Church and other community organizations. One of her biggest organizations she was involved with was the Tiger Moths, which she helped found. You know, Peg's done various activities here, from announcing at track meets to announcing at lower level football games, middle school football games. She was the voice of the young Tigers for quite some time. You know, sometimes when you have a person who's as dominant a personality in the community like Coach Dunn, it's difficult to live in their shadow. But I would definitely say that Peg wasn't a person who was following in anyone's shadow. You know, she had her own way of doing things, and she was very active and took on a very strong role in the community. Yeah, our head football coach, Pete Class, did a commemorative little sticker on the back of the helmets honoring Peg. It's a nice round black circle with the word Peg in it in orange. You know, orange and black, I'm sure, were Peg's favorite colors, with the exception of the little blue for the Cubs I think she threw in there every once in a while. When they were painting the field last Friday, they kind of got everything done, and Coach had left for a little while. It was actually Donnie Banucci and Garrett Hicks that came up and did basically a replica of the patch that they were wearing, the insignia on the back of the helmets. Did it on the football field. And then our announcer, Jerry Edwards, whenever he announced for the football game, we did a little moment of silence at the beginning of the game to kind of honor Peg. And you know, we just would like to show our support to Coach and to his family, that we know how much Peg meant to us and to this community, and so we wanted to have something kind of special for her.
Peg Dunn, the wife of Hugh Dunn, passed away earlier this year. Here at Dunn Field, Peg was a fixture for our students. For over 40 years, Peg was behind this microphone for JV games, freshman games, and countless track meets. On the field tonight, you can see the Macon Tigers and the Macon High School's appreciation for all of her efforts. Her name is proudly painted on the field, and each Macon Tiger tonight has a Peg emblem on their helmet. In appreciation and memory, may we now have a moment of silence in Peg Dunn's honor. Thank you.
That shows the caring nature of this community. Mr. Weimer, many people are Macon Tiger fans, but it is stated that Peg was the #1 fan of all time. Do you feel there's any disputing that claim?
She's definitely one of the best, if not the best fans of all time. You know, I got to know Peg originally when I was in high school. You know, Coach Dunn was my high school football coach, and you know, Peg was involved in lots of activities at that time, and like I said, you know, was announcing for the lower level games. But it went a lot farther beyond that. It was there was a lot more of a personal side to it that a lot of people never got to experience. Coach Dunn and Peg invited myself and a few of my high school friends out to the lake one time. They were having a barbecue out there, and we got to go out there and play yard darts and, and play frisbee and wiffle ball, and they barbecued for us. I know that several of my friends got to attend some MU football games with Coach Dunn and with Peg. And then also, you know, there was just lots of things that, you know, she kind of got started, like I say, with the Tiger Moths, that are some great traditions here at Macon High School that we probably wouldn't have if it weren't for Peg Dunn. So to go back to your question, if she's not the greatest fan, we would be hard pressed to find one who's any greater.
Peg and Coach were like my second set of parents. I coached here for 30 years, and 18 of those were with Coach Dunn and Peg, and I used her support and encouragement was tremendous to everybody, but especially to myself. One of my favorite stories about Peg Dunn is when Coach Dunn really enjoys this story. That's why I like to tell it, because it means a lot to him. But when I was a young coach just starting out, one of my goals was I wanted to be Coach Dunn's best assistant he ever had. And I worked as hard as I could for about 2 or 3 years trying to achieve that goal. And finally, I gave up because I knew no matter what I did, if someone were to ask Coach Dunn who his best assistant coach was, he would always say it was Peg Dunn. And he loved that story, and it's a very true story. Peg kept stats. She did a lot of things for him in football. I think the main thing was her support and encouragement with him and the program. She's one of those coaches' wives that suffered with the losses and helped you back up when things were down, and really you shared the victories and all the enjoyment of that. I think one of the things a lot of people don't know about Peg or really understand about Peg is they think that she was just really involved in track and really involved in football, which that's where she did her work with the PA system. But Peg was just a Macon fan. And if you want to come out here in the summer when it's 95 degrees, she'd be out watching a softball or a baseball game up in the stands. Anything that wore orange and black, Peg was for. And she gave it complete support. A great lady, and always looked for something positive out of everything that happened. Peg was a good person in the community. She was a good person at school. She was like a parent to all the kids that played for her. If you were to ask Peg or Coach Dunn about someone that played 15 years from now, Peg could go into the house and get some records, and she could tell you everything about that person. And she could tell you all their history, everything they achieved in their lives at school, and what kind of person they were, and give you a great evaluation of that person. But she is so positive. She received an award when I was the athletic director here down at the Lake of the Ozarks for our district's Person of the Year. And it was, when I presented her to the committees, when I told them that at that time she'd been on the PA system for about 45 years, among other things. One of the statements I made to them was I said she had such great control of an event like a track event through the PA system. And I always gave the example of if there was ever a riot downtown in Macon, Missouri, if they could give Peg Dunn a microphone, she could go down there and get it settled down, because she had that much power, and she could do that without even upsetting people or making people mad, but yet getting the results that we all wanted. I can't imagine being in Macon and not having known her and having the influence that she and Coach Dunn have had on myself. I've asked myself several times what kind of a person would I have been if I hadn't have met Coach Dunn and Peg, because they were my second set of parents. And they're the kind of people you answer to because you have so much respect for. And I often, even when Coach Dunn was retired and Peg was still active, some of the decisions I had to make, I often would think, what would Coach Dunn and Peg think about this decision if I do this or that? And that just shows the respect you had for them, because Peg, in particular, she wanted to do things the right way, in the classy way, and she was a class lady, and she meant a tremendous amount to myself and my family.
Well, there's a lot of memories or stories about Peg Dunn. My family's been very fortunate that over the last 10 years we've spent every Thanksgiving weekend with Peg and her family, but probably the most memorable thing for me was the very first time that I ever met Peg. When I first moved to town, went over and met Coach and Peg, and we were just talking about Macon and different things. And one of the things that came up was they had recently taken the tiger paw off the side of the helmet just a year or two before that, and I expressed to her that I really wanted to put that tiger paw back on that helmet. And you could see how that brightened up her face, how much it meant to her, something for a lot of us just as small as a tiger paw on the side of the helmet, but it was certainly very, very important to her. I don't know how you could live in Macon, especially those that grew up here in Macon, and not understand, the Dunn legacy. Obviously, Peg's husband, was a coach here for 40 years. The field's named after him. You could go on and on about him, but of course, Peg's legacy, she was, an announcer for JV and junior high football games for over 50 years. She was also an announcer for all of our home track meets for over 50 years. She was a founding member of the Tiger Maws Booster Club, and just her support for Macon kids and everything that they do, from sports to plays to musicals to whatever, and just her passion for Macon and Macon High School is phenomenal.